you all for being here. I'm very grateful. And first of all, I'm very proud of this body of work. It's been almost 2 years that I've been working. And hanging up in this gallery is the first time I've seen it all together.
Wow.
So that was a thrill.
That was exciting.
That was a thrill. My idea came from the idea of horizons. I live near the ocean. I love the ocean. It has a soothing, deep quality for me in my life. And the idea that, especially now in this time, we all are always looking out to the horizon. We're always looking. We have hopes, we have fears, we have joy, we have happiness as we ponder or look out on the horizon. So I thought, that's a universal theme. And I felt that how could I share that with everybody in a way that feels like we're all blended, because it's such a universal idea. So that's how I came up with Horizon Shared. We all share it. And so what better place to do that than the beach or the ocean?
Yeah.
That's how I came up with that. And the cool thing about the horizon, especially at the beach, is that when you're walking down to the beach, you're looking out at the horizon, and then you sit down, and the horizon line is down here, and you lie down, and you walk, and it changes and moves, and just like we all do. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How that worked. The idea of the color and the glow of the blues and greens and beiges is also very universal. And each color has meaning. Should I keep going, or?
Well, yeah, no.
I live near the ocean. I love the ocean. It has a soothing, deep quality for me in my life. And the idea that, especially now in this time, we all are always looking out to the horizon. We're always looking. We have hopes, we have fears, we have joy, we have happiness as we ponder or look out on the horizon. So I thought, that's a universal theme. And I felt that how could I share that with everybody in a way that feels like we're all blended, because it's such a universal idea. So that's how I came up with Horizon Shared. We all share it. And so what better place to do that than the beach or the ocean?
Yeah.
That's how I came up with that. And the cool thing about the horizon, especially at the beach, is that when you're walking down at the beach, you're looking out at the horizon, and then you sit down, and the horizon line is down here, and you lie down, and you walk, and it changes and moves, and just like we all do. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But that, and I think too that there's something, I mean, because the horizon, you're absolutely right, is universal, even when you're landlocked.
Yes.
Right? So are you watching the sun rise or set? Are you know, the horizon on the East Coast is where the sun comes from. And there's a mythology about a new day and like emotion that way. And then out here it's when the sun disappears and you think about the far side of the world. Or, you know, if you are in a mountain valley where, you know, the mountains are so steep that the horizon is a jagged line way up there in the sky, that it's still kind of where the earth and sky meet.
It's wherever you're looking.
Exactly, and it changes with you, to your point, and your, and then when you're there, you're often thinking about nature, because horizon evokes that, right? So it's not like for example, if you're in Manhattan, Your horizon is like the lights coming on in Jersey City, like Gabrielle. So it doesn't feel that horizon horizontal. It doesn't feel that same way. So you're in nature, to your point. And then it's the elements, right? It's sand, is earth, it's air, wind, it's maybe rain, it's a body of water, maybe there's a storm, or maybe, right? And I noticed that also too, there are not a lot of sunsets. So you've really let the kind of coastal experience be in the day, right? Because sunsets are very melodramatic, and these works are very serene, contemplative. Do you paint outside? Do you like take your kit and march down there?
I do not.
Okay, get sand in your paint? No.
I found these beautiful handmade papers that you can sample over there and feel them. I found those papers and they're so gorgeous. I wanted to play with what I could do with them. So
those are the collage that you just
collage.
humbly refer to oil paint and collage,
yes.
like it's no big deal, but actually.
Yes, and I love the jewel-like quality of oil paint, and so the two together create a sense of depth and meaning and layering, like we all have, especially as we look out
And texture.
on the horizon.
Which is so important.
And the cool thing is you can feel these and it's okay.
Oh my God, I'm like, what? No! Okay, I guess it's yours again.
It's inking.
Don't do that. You do not have permission to do that.
Unless you buy it.
Unless you buy a shirt. Well done.
That's
Those
a
are
plug,
very
that's a
good
plug.
supporters that you have. Yeah, but you want to. You don't always think of a painting as tactile.
Yes,
That's
I wanted
interesting.
that. I really wanted that texture and that, because it's inviting and it takes you in a little bit closer, so you have more to look at and sense. And I love that about using the texture. First of all, the color of blue evokes just that feeling of calmness, of inspiration, of possibility.
Yes, at room,
Right.
space.
I mean,
yeah.
it goes on and on and on. So I love that. And the turquoise, as we move into the ocean, the turquoise is a color of clarity.
Yeah.
And even though it's blue and green, it's the perfect transition color from sky to ocean, and all of the different shades of blue.
I mean, hundreds, thousands, more than we can even see with the naked eye. Eric would actually know
Sure.
how many blues there are.
And then we go transition to the sand. And the sand, even though it's beige, brown, earthy. By the way, my mother always told me I looked good in muddy colors. And then here I am doing all these clear colors. But the beiges and the earth tones,
Yeah.
think about it, the sand is made up of billions of years of shells being crushed together. And you can almost feel the individuality when you walk barefoot in the sand. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's why I put lots of, different earth tones in the sand. Some are deep because it is layered, and some is light and breezy and airy.
Well, I think that's one interesting thing about all this is like, there are no shortage of, beautiful paintings of beautiful coastal, seascapes in the world.
It's true.
But like writing love songs, people just can't stop doing it because there's something new every time, because they're different every place. There's no such thing as the beach. We've all been on, this is the color of sand. Unless you're in a place with red sand or black sand or pure white sand or rocky shores where there's no sand, it's only rocks. So actually, to your point, there is this kind of infinite variation even within this one very
beige, soothing, earthy,
Yeah.
relaxing, sympathetic.
But also, it's not quiet. I mean, I'm not saying that it isn't serene, but I think for something that expresses a sense of serenity, there's actually quite a lot of going on inside every little bit of everything. And I think some of that is down to the textures of these amazing papers, but some of it is down to the way that you've added paint to it. And so, you know, that's a cloud, a white cloud. But when you get here, you realize like there's a billion things going on in this 2 square inches of like color
Yes.
inside the white. And that I think happens in all of them, which is like when you get up close to them, all this stuff comes rushing out at you, all this detail. It's very interesting.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not an ocean painter. There are really good people out there that paint ocean. I've never considered myself one of them. And then 2 years ago, I started painting ocean, mostly through texture and mostly through the idea of the horizon. But it was fun.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of life in that, and it's interesting to me too that they're small but atmospheric at the same time, because how does that work? Because you would think that you would need this kind of scale to get to that like blustering wind bouncing clouds around, you know, but you kind of manage to capture it. It's a little bit like alchemy. I mean, they're really impressive. So, you know, and I'm curious now, I want to go back when it's not everyone staring at us and try to figure out like what is the texture collage magic secret sauce element and what is you painting in each one, because I think you've really, it doesn't look like any collage that I've seen.
Oh, good.
Right? When it's collage, you tend to be able to tell. That's the part that got cut out and added, and that's the and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a collage. Like, let it look like a collage. But it's so interesting to me how sublimated it is when you're looking at the piece, right? It's like it's very, very unique. I think you're onto something. How did that come into your life?
A friend of mine told me about a paper store, Rami, Culver City.
And you just went in and...
So I went in, and it was like a kid in the candy store.
Had $15,000 and a truckload later.
So initially it was like, well, what can I do with these? They're so beautiful. I tore them, I feathered them, I glued them, I layered them, and just playing, really. And then mixing oil in them, actually painting some of them, going over them, glazing them. There was any number of playful moments figuring out what I wanted to do. Initially, I wanted the horizon lines, that I put those in first.
Yeah, because
I'll connect all these. Yeah, that didn't happen. But it was a great jumping off point, because then I had something in there, and I could add paint, I could add paper, I could go over it, I could let the work sort of evolve. And then I had the idea of putting the birds in.
Well, I mean, everyone loves a bird.
Well, it's funny, if you ask me, I didn't really love birds.
That's even better. You didn't love the beach. You don't love the beach. You don't love the birds. No,
I do.
No, but I think it's great that it's like, it's not about the beach. It is, but not one-to-one. And it's not about the birds.
That's true.
But these are the creatures that inhabit this weird liminal place that you're fascinated with. That's who lives there, right?
And what was cool was that, thinking back on it, I have birds in every series I've ever done. I didn't know that until I really thought about it. But birds, they have such meaning. I mean, they're spiritual, they're divine, they're light, they embody
freedom.
So much freedom and inspiration and openness.
They're messengers.
Possibility, messengers, absolutely. So the papers actually initially really helped with that.
I thought, of course, because
and then I'm looking around as I was doing this, I didn't put any paper in any of the birds this time. So.
I
it's
love all these like
oil.
plot twists in what, because the
But
work
that's
is
so much fun.
right, but it's like I love how you've managed to, it seems so straightforward, but the second you start pulling on it, everything is this counterintuitive, kind of organic. It's really interesting. And because this is also, I mean, we had a little, touched on a little bit, I love some of the connections, but like the ocean, the horizon, like this is like the Jungian, you know, water is like, if there's nothing else you know about Carl Jung's interpretation of images in your dreams, pay attention to the water. It's the single most important thing that will appear. And you can tell by what it is, how you're doing. It represents the entire subconscious writ large. Is it the ocean? Is it a stream? Is it a boiling teapot? Is it the rain? Is it a river? Is it a tsunami? Is it life-saving? Is it threatening? Every million different things the water can be.
That's right.
But that's where our like
And it's
consciousness dwells, right?
obviously.
And physically, that's an excellent point. And so I feel like that is more like the part of this that's happening in the work than the simple
Right.
idea of painting the view.
But
As majestic as
I
that would be.
wanted to incorporate lots of different kinds of seabirds, as long as I was doing it.
Hey, they're keeping you company while you're out there.
Yeah, so, you know, I have the albatross over there, I have the egrets over here. Certainly the pelicans that are, you know, fantastically amazing animals. These are the egrets also.
I love that you picked the sort of interesting ones though, like, you know.
Well,
you
they
know,
all have personality. They're all kind of,
you know, no
they've got something
offense to,
say.
you know, to Jonathan Livingston Seagull or whatever, but like, but you know, these are like just a little to one side, a little bit more exotic, a little bit more something, a crane, an image, right?
Yeah, so you know, I feel like they have their own personality. They talk to you, they
Yes.
relate to you, and so many of the pieces have that, which I think enhances it.
No, they really
at
do.
another level.
And there's something really captivating about all of the variation within something that
That's
could
true.
seem similar. And so that's part of what you just said as
Right.
well. There's a real quality of paying close attention, you know, like really close attention, not just going, oh yeah, but really like being there, real presence. I think that comes through too.
There's something wonderful about detail.
Yeah, detail.
And, so you can do something vast and open, and then you can
Feel every grain of
anal
sand.
retentive and get in there with some detail and just that contrast, just that difference between the two
It's very rich.
I feel like it's more inviting to view.
And it's more like what being there is like, because that's how, you know, we notice the little and big and so amazing. Oh my God, Elle, they're so lovely. And the more I stand here, the more I'm like, okay, I think I like this fat, kind of suspicious looking one. This anyway, there's a lot of personality. And
Can you talk a little bit about the like circular?
Yes,
I'm
thank
trying to
you.
understand what's going on there. It's beautiful and it draws me in.
there's
But
the
there's
circles.
dimension. There's a little. I understand.
And there's
don't need
this as
paper,
well.
But also the blue, like they're very dimensional,
Big.
and I just want to understand their tide pool. Like what's happening there?
Yeah.
Originally,
Yeah.
those were swimming pools.
Okay, interesting.
Originally, those were swimming pools, and I felt like they were too tight.
Mhm.
They were too closed.
Mhm.
We know that a circle is a very feminine object. You know, it's very womanly.
Mhm.
And so the idea of a circle or oval with the very straight horizon line,
Mhm.
even the back edge of the big oval,
Mhm.
even the diagonal under the birds, the first two birds, it balances it, it gives it both a masculine and a feminine quality that I think is intriguing because we all relate to that. you know, we all have our feminine side, we all have our masculine side, and that's why I did that.
Thank you.
I think it's an interesting piece too, because it's the one that is the most like it might fly off into total abstraction.
Yeah.
Like that's the one like if you the ones that have the birds, and this is similar. It's like the birds are keeping this work ironically grounded in phenomenological, you know, existence. Like we know that that's rocks in a tide pool and something because of what the birds are doing and some of this naturalistic with the current, but basically it's the birds. And they're kind of doing some of that work in this piece too, because without them, you know, things would start to tilt, the scale would be way more ambiguous, and even though it is still a little bit mysterious, you kind of know that you're still dealing with like tide pools of water by the shore, whatever, like we, you know, there's a naturalism to it, but now that we're looking at it more deeply and the way that the paper and the veins and everything is going on in there, is the birds are keeping it together in a really interesting way. They're not just kind of there.
Even the canvas is
They're
showing
doing
through
things.
in that first big pool.
Yeah.
That's canvas.
Yeah.
Under
Yeah,
there.
they're-
I mean, just barely, you know, covered. But that's true.
It's an interesting piece because it's the least, realistic, for lack of a better word at the moment. But then it also is the one that highlights the materiality of the paper the most. So that's interesting.
That's the title
So,
piece
yeah.
for the show, Horizon.
Yeah.
And the colors was, you know, we think of ocean as blue, turquoise, gray.
Now it's purple, and
and
there's the
so
green
now-
I see the green flash, right?
Yes.
The famous elusive green flash
Yes,
mark.
I've seen that. That's very cool. But the color lavender is made up of a calm, beautiful blue, a hot, angry, vibrant, alive red. But it's a perfect transition color. It's also the complement color of the yellow and the beige. So the two together, I think is quite beautiful. And I repeat it all the way down.
Yeah, I like the way that this one is kind of going into a deeper conversation with pure abstraction, but you're not letting it go all the way. But like, I wouldn't be surprised to see you back here in a couple of years where you've explored your inexplicable obsession with the ocean horizon to its fullest and come out the other side. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something in this one that's to your exact point of horizon beckoning, the future, the unknown, the other side of it.
It's shaped.
There's something
also.
else going on with this, something
Yeah.
new to the rest, and I think that might be something exciting for you. So I'm looking
Really,
forward
I
to
like
following
that.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's great.
definitely. Yes.
So, what I love when I look at this is that I see the finite and the infinite, so that the living beings to me show this depth of beauty and life and compassion, right? But then there's this infinite thing of nature that holds the finite. And then I look at Brenda.
Oh, I love
And
Brenda. Brenda's
Brenda
right.
is like the Mary Poppins of the beach because she like peeks out and I feel like she's saying something to us. And in the meantime, she's got narwhals in the air. So I really wanted to hear about your thought process around Brenda and the magic.
Okay, I'm happy to talk about Brenda. I love her.
Brenda sounds great.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a happy gal. One of the things I noticed at the beach or a pool is that people love water. We've already established that. We've come from that. But Brenda was just, she didn't care what she looked like. She didn't care if her hair was wet or weird. She didn't care about her body. She just was so happy to be at the beach or be near water, that I thought, well, she's a perfect symbol for how we feel when we get near water, or the anticipation of going near water or in the water. Just that
Get out of our own way to be able to really be there.
Right,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
yes,
sounds
that's
like-
well said. It
sounds like-
doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Because I'm trying to imagine being like that disassociated from myself in a bathing suit on a beach, and so that I could actually enjoy it without losing my freaking mind about it every second. And I'm so jealous of Brenda right now. I really am.
Because Artie there, Artie Floats is the same. And, you know, he's a teenage kid, and you know he's grumpy, and then he's taking his loads and he's heading to the beach, and he's determined.
Yeah.
And
Like
knows that once he gets there, all will be well.
I love that, and that's a really good metaphor, I think, for life in general too.
Right.
Something to try to keep in mind whenever possible, like
Right.
when you get there.
It's true. But we still are always looking out at that horizon. We're still anticipating, we're still hoping, and I think that's so universal.
I agree, thank you. And then we're gonna do a little something.
It's more of a statement, an acknowledgement than a question. I really like, and I don't know, and then you tell me if that's like planned or intentional. I see a lot of your paintings, there is a transparency and translucent. There are layers, but they're transparent. I see that especially in these two and that one, and I think what makes it feel that beautifully transparent is the use of the papers that
The
you're doing.
papers, and also that jewel-like quality for me of oil. You know, you can mix it with a medium, and you can literally make it transparent. So that
So
helps.
that was planned
Yes,
by you.
and honestly, a lot of it is just, oh, that's cool, that works. You know, it's not, you can't pre-think it.
No, or just we
A
just
little
That's
bit.
right.
I mean, you start with your idea, you know this, you start with an idea, and then you just kind of let the painting tell you where it wants to go. And when you get in trouble is when you fight that,
Yes.
for me. So
Speaking of
I
metaphors
always,
for life.
I try and just listen. It doesn't always work, but I'm trying, I'm listening.
I think it's working, you know? I mean, there's a lot of really good paintings in this room, so it seems to be working based on that, right? And you should feel really proud as you do. I'm glad you do, because this is quite an accomplishment.
I
So,
thank you.
well done to you. Quick question, maybe a little vote. Who feels like they would rather get a